Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're looking at BSE Limited, one of India's leading stock exchanges.
You got it.
We've got three sources that we're going to be looking at today. We've got a press release announcing BSE's second quarter results for fiscal year 2025, a detailed investor presentation, and then also a really interesting set of questions that I think will help us to dig into what these results really mean.
Yeah, it's a fascinating set of information.
It is.
What I think is really interesting is this plan to divest from BSE Institute Limited.
Okay, so BSE Institute Limited.
Right.
What is that? What's the significance of divesting from that?
Well, BSE Institute Limited is their education arm.
Okay.
And in the press release, it states that they've approved the sale of their 100% stake in it, pending terms and conditions and all the regulatory approvals, of course.
Okay.
So that suggests to me that there's a little bit of a strategic shift happening here for BSE.
Yeah, it seems like they might be kind of, streamlining and focusing on their core.
Yeah.
But before we even get into that, can you just give us a quick overview of BSE for anyone who might not be familiar with them?
Absolutely. So BSE Ltd, formerly known as the Bombay Stock Exchange, is one of the oldest and largest stock exchanges in all of Asia.
Wow.
Basically, you can think of it as a marketplace where buyers and sellers come together to trade stocks in publicly listed companies.
Okay.
And to give you a sense of scale, the companies that are listed on BSE have a combined market cap of, get this, 5.72 trillion US dollars.
Whoa, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it sounds like BSE is a major player in the Indian financial landscape.
Yeah.
But from the investor presentation, it seems that they're involved in a lot more than just stock trading.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's easy to think of a stock exchange as being one-dimensional, but really, BSE has diversified into this really wide range of financial services.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the presentation has this really helpful chart, I think,
Okay.
that kind of breaks down their activities into four main segments. So there's trading and clearing distribution services to corporates and other services.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right.
That's interesting. What kind of impact do you think this diversification has on their financial health?
Well, it creates, I think, a more stable and resilient revenue stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can see that if you look at the revenue breakdown chart in the presentation, too.
Okay.
They've got transaction charges, services to corporates, treasury income, all sorts of things.
Right. So it's mixed.
Yeah, so it means that they're not, completely vulnerable if one market is fluctuating or something.
Makes sense. So it's kind of like having a diversified investment portfolio, but for a company.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into some of these segments that you mentioned. So the equity, cash, and equity derivative segments, those seem like, more traditional strengths for BSE.
Absolutely.
What kind of trends are you seeing in those particular areas?
Yeah, so some continued growth there. The average daily turnover in the equity cash segment has been climbing pretty steadily over the past few fiscal years, and it reached a really substantial 93,963 million rupees in the first half of fiscal year 2025.
Oh, yeah.
And then transaction charges income from that same segment saw a pretty impressive 88% year-on-year growth in that same period.
88%. That's huge.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving that kind of growth?
So a couple of factors, I think.
Okay.
First, BSE revised its transaction charges for Sensex and BankX options from October 1st, 2024.
Okay.
And this move aligns with SEBI's True to Label circular.
Now, just backing up a little bit for our listeners, can you explain what SEBI is and what this True to Label circular aims to achieve?
Sure. So SEBI is the Securities and Exchange Board of India.
Okay.
It's basically the regulatory body for the securities market in India.
Gotcha.
And the True to Label circular. It's all about transparency and protecting investors. So it mandates that the name of a financial product actually reflects the underlying assets. That way, investors aren't misled.
That's good.
So BSE aligning with that by revising those charges, it shows a commitment, I think, to fair practices and building trust with investors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, of course, could have a positive impact on the bottom line.
Right. So it's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's also about doing business ethically and responsibly.
Exactly. And speaking of being proactive,
Yeah.
BSE also announced some changes to the expiry dates for Sensex, BankX, and single stock derivatives.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems like they're, really closely monitoring the market dynamics and then making adjustments to try to make sure that things are efficient and investor-friendly.
So they're not just reacting. They're anticipating and adapting.
Exactly. It's a really dynamic and competitive industry.
Definitely.
Oh.
Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about their mutual fund platform.
Okay.
It seems like that's another area of strength for BSE.
Yeah, absolutely. Their BSE Star mutual fund platform has become a real success story. They've got over 206.15 million registered investors.
Wow.
43 registered mutual funds offering an incredible 11,655 schemes. And they've got this vast network of over 78,000 distributors across India.
Those are some staggering numbers. What do you think this tells us about BSE's position in the market?
Well, I think it really highlights their ability to innovate and cater to the evolving needs of investors.
Okay.
Mutual funds are becoming increasingly popular, especially with younger investors.
Oh, sure.
And so BSE has capitalized on that trend by creating this really user-friendly platform that makes investing in mutual funds accessible and really convenient.
So they're not just a traditional stock exchange. They're this tech-savvy platform provider connecting investors with, this wide range of financial products.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so intriguing. They're
Yeah.
constantly evolving and pushing the boundaries of what a stock exchange can really be.
Yeah, it really is amazing to see how BSE has evolved from its traditional roots to become, this dynamic, multifaceted financial hub.
Yeah, it really speaks volumes about their adaptability and their strategic vision.
Definitely. And it kind of begs the question, what's fueling this impressive growth?
Yeah.
The investor presentation points to several key drivers, and I'm particularly intrigued by the emphasis on market growth and financial savings.
Yeah, those are definitely major forces at play here. India's economy is growing really rapidly, and with that, you see the surge in investor participation and, market turnover. Plus, as disposable incomes rise, more and more Indians are shifting their savings toward, these financial instruments,
Right.
which creates, this huge tailwind for companies like BSE.
So they're really perfectly positioned to ride this wave of, economic growth and capitalize on the increasing, appetite for these financial products.
Precisely. But it's not just about, being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
BSE is actively driving its own success through, innovation and this relentless focus on customer needs.
Yeah, and we see that in their launch of the Star MF Plus platform,
Yeah.
which is a premium platform tailored for distributors and advisors.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how they're really leveraging technology to enhance their offerings and make it even easier for investors to participate in the market.
Right.
And it really underscores their commitment to providing, these cost-effective and efficient solutions.
For sure. It's also interesting to note their strong network of intermediaries
Yeah.
and, this robust connectivity
Yeah.
that ensures they can reach a wide audience across India.
Absolutely. That's a critical advantage in a market as vast and, diverse as India. And, we can't forget about their fundraising prowess.
Right.
BSE has really established itself as a leader in helping Indian companies raise capital,
Yeah,
which further strengthens their position within the ecosystem.
absolutely. Now, those insightful questions that we have about BSE's future projections and strategic initiatives, they're starting to make a lot more sense now.
Right.
We're looking at a company with a proven track record, a favorable market environment, and a real knack for innovation.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, what does all this mean for investors?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And while we can't give any financial advice,
Of course.
we can certainly analyze the information and, try to connect the dots.
Absolutely.
And one thing to remember is that BSE isn't just catering to the domestic market.
Right.
They're making significant moves in the international arena as well.
Ah, yes, their global ambitions.
Exactly.
So they've been actively expanding their footprint through initiatives like India INX and India INX Global Access.
That's right. India INX is a real game changer. It's India's first international exchange located in Gift City,
Okay.
and it offers access to over 135 global exchanges and a wide array of products, everything from equity and commodity derivatives to debt instruments and foreign currency bonds.
Wow.
So it's essentially, this bridge connecting Indian investors to global markets.
Right, and vice versa.
And vice versa, exactly.
Global capital flowing into India.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then India INX Global Access takes us even further,
Oh.
allowing investors to access over 30,000 stocks across 33 countries,
Wow.
as well as global portfolios managed by, renowned experts, all with a minimum investment of just $100.
Wow. So they're really democratizing access to global markets.
Talk about it.
That's incredible. But isn't this international expansion, a bit of a risky move, given the intense competition from these established global players in the financial markets?
Well, it's certainly a bold move,
Mm-hmm.
and there are inherent risks involved. But BSE has a history of, successfully navigating challenges and adapting to new environments and, their focus on innovation, cost effectiveness, and, these strong partnerships, I think that could give them a competitive edge.
So they're not just dipping their toes in the water. They're
No,
really diving in head first,
they are.
armed with a clear strategy and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. And that's what makes the story so compelling.
Yeah.
They're not content with just being a regional player. They're aiming for a global presence.
Right.
And their strategic initiatives suggest that they have a good shot at achieving that goal.
This global expansion seems like a key pillar of their growth strategy. Diversifying their revenue streams, solidifying their position as, this major force in the financial world.
Yeah, it's definitely a bold and ambitious move, but one that could pay off handsomely if it's executed successfully.
But, we have to remember that they're operating in a very dynamic and complex environment.
Right.
And there are always challenges and uncertainties in the financial world.
Absolutely. And those insightful questions that we have really prompt us to consider those potential challenges and opportunities.
Yeah. For instance, how will BSE maintain its competitive edge in the face of, these global giants with deeper pockets and more established networks?
It's a valid concern.
It is.
They'll need to continue innovating, forging these strategic partnerships, and, demonstrating their unique value proposition to both domestic and international clients.
Yeah, another key question is, this ever-evolving regulatory landscape. How will BSE navigate the complexities of operating in multiple jurisdictions, each with its own set of rules and regulations?
That's a crucial aspect. They'll need to be, agile, adaptable, and constantly on top of those regulatory changes to ensure compliance and maintain their reputation for integrity.
For sure. And of course, we can't overlook the importance of technology.
Yeah.
BSE has already shown a knack for leveraging technology to enhance their offerings.
Right.
But they'll need to stay ahead of the curve as fintech, continues to disrupt the financial industry.
Definitely.
So the question is, will they continue investing in cutting-edge solutions, or will they risk falling behind in this race for technological dominance?
That's a key consideration for any company operating in the financial space, especially one with global ambitions like BSE.
Yeah, it's clear that BSE has a compelling story.
It is.
But their journey is far from over.
Right.
They're facing a future filled with both opportunities and challenges. And their success will really hinge on their ability to adapt, innovate, and execute their strategy effectively.
Yeah, their journey is a real microcosm of the broader trends that are shaping the global financial landscape.
Absolutely.
It's a story of ambition, innovation, and this constant push to break down barriers and create new possibilities.
I'm definitely eager to see how this story unfolds.
Me too.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to kind of absorb everything that we've learned so far about BSE's performance, their strategic initiatives, and, the factors influencing their future trajectory.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating exploration, hasn't it?
It has.
We've gone from the nitty-gritty of the financial results to this broader discussion of, these forces that are shaping the Indian financial landscape and BSE's role within this, evolving ecosystem.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But there's still so much more to explore.
There is.
We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up and leave our listener with some final food for thought. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into BSE Ltd. From their strong Q2 performance to those ambitious global expansion plans, it's clear they're not just a traditional stock exchange. They're this dynamic force, shaping the future of finance in India and beyond.
It really has been a fascinating journey, through their financial reports, investor presentations, and those thought-provoking questions. I mean, those really got us thinking about the bigger picture.
They did.
Yeah.
And speaking of the bigger picture, I kind of want to shift our focus now to what all of this means for the Indian financial landscape as a whole. BSE's success, it's a reflection of India's economic growth story. But it also has the potential to really influence its trajectory, in the years to come.
Yeah, I think it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
A thriving stock exchange attracts more investment, which fuels economic growth, which in turn creates more opportunities for businesses to list and for investors to participate.
Exactly. And BSE is actively contributing to this virtuous cycle by making financial markets more accessible and efficient. I mean, think about their Star MF platform.
Right.
That's opened up the world of mutual fund investing to millions of Indians.
Absolutely. It's a prime example of how BSE is really democratizing access to these financial products and empowering individuals to, take control of their financial futures and their international expansion through initiatives like India INX that could even further accelerate this trend by connecting Indian investors with global markets.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about the potential ripple effects.
Right.
Increased access to global capital could fuel innovation,
Hmm.
create jobs, drive economic growth across various
Right.
sectors.
It's a win-win situation,
Yeah.
not just for BSE, but for the Indian economy as a whole. But, as we've discussed, there are challenges ahead too.
Right.
BSE will need to navigate this, complex and competitive global landscape, stay ahead of those technological disruptions, and adapt to those evolving regulations.
And their ability to address these challenges will determine their long-term success.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even with a solid foundation and a clear vision, the path forward, it's never guaranteed.
Absolutely. That's what makes BSE's story so compelling, It's a story of ambition, resilience, and this constant drive to push boundaries. It's a story that's still unfolding, and we'll certainly be watching closely to see what the next chapter holds.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Given BSE's strategic initiatives, strong performance, ambitious global outlook, what role do you think they'll play in shaping the future of the Indian financial landscape and its integration with the global economy?
That's a great question. And I think it goes beyond just those, financial metrics. It touches upon those broader themes of innovation, accessibility, and, the interconnectedness of global markets. It's a question that invites us all to think about the future we want to create and the role that institutions like BSE can play in, shaping that future.
And with that, we want to encourage you, our listener, to continue exploring, keep asking questions, and stay engaged with this evolving world of finance. After all, it's a world that impacts all of us, whether we're seasoned investors or just starting to explore our financial options.
And remember that journey of discovery. It never truly ends. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to uncover as we navigate the complexities of this financial world.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into BSE Limited. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.